Hello. So I'm sitting here and I realized I'm going through my yarn. I should probably film it. My son is almost 2 years old now, and we have quite, I don't want to say small because it's really not, uh, it's not big. It's a very classic early 90s split level style home and with a very small kitchen. So we have always struggled with space for our kitchen items. And now that our child is almost 2, he's getting into everything. And I feel like it's not really fair to him to constantly be telling him no or taking stuff away from him. He thinks that throwing, our cans on our wooden floor is fun because it's loud, and then he's just denting the floor and denting the cans, and I don't blame him, and it's just not fair to him to constantly have to be telling him no. So I guess I kind of made the executive decision today I am moving my yarn. I'm moving my yarn downstairs and freeing up some wall space. I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of the space, but it's more like one less thing for me to tell him no about getting into my yarn. So let me catch you up on where I'm at. First thing is this pegboard of yarn used to be up here. I have now moved that. It is so heavy for one person, and also just really wide for my wingspan. But I have moved that for now. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. If I'm going to rearrange my cakes in a different way. I started taking out the mohair or otherwise lace weight yarn. This was hanging on the pegboard, and this was just on top of the cubes. So I've started getting all of those out. They were down here. And then here is the other 3 cubes that were laying horizontally on top of my 9 cubes. So this is what I'm working with. I just started taking all of the blues and purples out of this cube up here, and I have to get the yarn out of the rest of these cubes before I move the cubes downstairs. So that is what I'm working on next.
Not a good reason to engage with the game, but we are in the very tail end now at the very start of 2025. So I have a huge backlog of Game of the Year videos, podcasts that I want to listen to. I love Game of the Year. So I need a game that I can play, something mindless I can just grind out a checklist that I can tick off while absorbing all that other.
So what you've been watching me do here is take out my yarn and then actually wipe it off with a wipe. A lot of these skeins were actually pretty dusty, and so I wanted to make sure that they were actually clean. I don't think that using a wet wipe is probably the most recommended way to clean off dusty yarn, but it did the trick, and it was very meditative to just take out each skein, wipe it off, check it out. And the method that I like to use is really touching every skein, looking at every skein, even if I'm actually just moving it downstairs first, doing a light inspection to make sure that there isn't any significant damage. Luckily, I didn't really see any of that this time, which might mean my moth traps are working or that I have touched my yarn recently enough that it didn't get a bunch of moth infestation. The rest of this portion of the video is just a chill time, me going through my yarn. Enjoy the beautiful skeins with me, and I'll see you downstairs.
Now I get some. Okay, so we are in our downstairs living room. I'm thinking I want to put it behind this beanbag chair against this wall. Let's see if it works, because it's really the only place it could go.
you look at our basement, the way it's set up here is we have our main TV, our smaller TV, and a CRT. And then over here we have our dance game machine, and that weighs like hundreds and hundreds of pounds. So it's not something I can just move. Also, where would I put it? Like, I guess technically I could fit the yarn on this wall, but it would make it really narrow, and we just cleared out yarn from over there. So I really feel like this is the spot that it can go. So let's see. Okay, it's fitting in there, and we were able to slide this over so it could fit. I do have some yarn hiding down there, and I really need to go through my yarn again because, yeah, like, I do have extra yarn in here in this cubby hole, and it does go pretty far back, but we like to keep this for general storage. So, and those are 2 Christmas trees, but this is like my extra yarn storage for my non-indie dyed yarn, basically. But it's already full. No, you don't need to go in there. No. Okay, so it's a week later, I think, and I am going to start going through my yarn. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but I was thinking, like, I have had so much of this yarn for 5 years or more, and I haven't used it, and I really don't have a good plan to use it, and I would rather destash it. I have so much yarn. Like, it's wild when you have it organized that it doesn't seem like that much until you need to, like, move it somewhere else. Also, I'm making soup. If I'm reheating some soup, if you hear the microwave. So when I had to move everything downstairs, and the containers and the amount of ground that I was moving, it really makes you realize how much I have. I'll put how many skeins I had on the screen here from my touching every skein of my stash video. And I just don't find myself reaching for a lot of that yarn anymore. And I'm not saying I'm getting rid of all of it, but definitely a large chunk. Because at this point, a lot of times when I want to make a project, I just buy new yarn. There are definitely a few, like, sweater quantities and yarns that I did buy for a specific purpose that I'm for sure going to keep, and some that have some sentimental value. But I think I'm going to be doing a big destash. I'll probably post them on Instagram on my destash account, share it on my main account, maybe in lots. I haven't decided if it's like by theme, like color theme, or by dyer, so we'll see. What?
This is my personal life. You've crossed the line. Leave it. So am I. How do I get the tools in here? Is he Sean?
Okay, so I was able to get through, honestly, most of my yarn, at least in terms of like the first pass. And then I got to do another probably like 1 or 2 more passes. But let's see what we've got. This is all yarn I want to keep initially. This is maybe. This is get rid of. Get rid of. Probably get rid of. Keep. A lot of these need like partners or stuff. So like these are mini skeins that I used barely any of that I probably will keep. But for example, this is a Suburban Stitcher yarn, and I can't remember if its partner I kept or got rid of, because Sweet Pea and Quinceañera look really similar. I think that's Quinceañera, and I think I kept it. So it's just like if there are additional ones, or if there was
There's definitely another one in here somewhere. Oh, I didn't realize I had 2 of those. So, like that. So I'll probably get rid of that since I got rid of its partner, but I want to keep yarns together as much as possible if I have more than one skein. I do have my self-striping, my happy place. I also have to deal with the random yarn that I threw downstairs when I was panicking, and it's just like a bunch of, I don't know, just stragglers. I don't know. So I have to figure that out. Do you see? Sorry, my cat's just walking. I precariously set up my tripod on the beanbag chair. I went through every single skein of yarn I have for my personal knitting and crocheting, personal crafting, every single ball. Even the last time that I went through my yarn, there were some yarns that were in random spots that I thought, oh yeah, maybe I'll do something with it. And I didn't like seriously think about it or go through it, or things that were just kind of messy or all over the place that I was like, this is too far. So this time I for real went through every single skein of yarn and every project bag and made some really hard cuts. Let's talk about it. So I know my lighting is not great. I have no overhead lighting, and my little light that I use to while I'm crafting is stuck over over by an outlet, so I just have it like casting from like 15 feet away. Anyway, the limitations of what I wanted were to be able to fit all of my yarn, including the yarn that was on that pegboard, in these 9 cubbies, as well as the 3 cubbies that I had that were a little bit smaller. I did end up making a little bit of a concession and putting my lace yarn in this little container thing that I have. And that was just so I could put my Knit Circus yarn in a cubby, and so I could spread my fingering skeins into 2 cubbies, and so that they weren't like as jam-packed in. I feel so good about the yarn that I've kept, and I feel really anxious about the yarn that I want to get rid of. Mostly because I don't want to just donate it to like a thrift store, because I don't really think most people who are looking for yarn at thrift stores are the audience for indie dyed yarn, because the yarn that I'm getting rid of is almost exclusively indie dyed with a little bit of commercial in there. So I'm gonna post lots, I think, to my destash account as well as my main Instagram, like share it there. So if you're interested in some amazing indie dyed yarn, keep an eye out. My main Instagram is miss_LJV, and my destash account is, I think, Eventual destash. So the yarn that I kept, I started with my worsted and sport weight. I know they're not similar, but bear with me here. There's a lot less worsted and a lot less sport weight than, for example, DK or fingering weight. So I wanted to put all of that together. So I put all of that in one cubby, if at least there was more than one skein, so I could be close to a sweater quantity or a sweater quantity. Then in my next cubby, I put all of my DK weight that is about sweater quantity or partial sweater quantity. In the third cubby, I put all of my self-striping sock yarn that does not have an accompanying mini skein. Below that, I put all of my fingering weight that is a sweater quantity or partial, at least 2 skeins. In that middle cubby, I put my sock sets that have a mini skein. In the last cubby of the middle row, I put all of my Knit Circus cakes. In the one of the bottom cubbies, I put all of my like worsted, DK, maybe even a couple Aran weight that are single skeins, so they will probably be used for hats or outfits for Quinn. And then there is some yarn from a sweater quantity for one of my knitting projects that I'm about to start. I just had a bunch of extra yarn and I'm going to be using it soon, so it won't stay there. And then the last 2 cubbies are my spread out single skeins of yarn that are fingering weight. Those will be used probably in shawls, in one-off things for like Quinn or someone who knows how to take care of indie dyed yarn. The problem is indie dyed yarn is so beautiful, but I really hate gifting it to people, gifting garments to people where it would take an extra step for them, because even though it's really easy to wash knits, like you just soak them and then lay them out, I know that that can feel overwhelming to people who don't do it regularly. And especially when you, like I, as a person who really struggles to keep up with laundry, I understand how one additional thing can be too much. So I really try to be careful about that. Except for socks, of course. I gift socks to my family all the time because you can just throw those in the wash, whatever, who cares? It's fine, it's fine. Because I spread my fingering weight between 2 cubbies, that's why I have the additional container for my lace weight. And then in the horizontal cubbies, I did put them on top of my 9 cubbies again. And on those ones, I have just sort of a spread of my already caked up yarn that were on the pegboards that I'm keeping that are not Knit Circus. I don't know, for some reason I just really like keeping the Knit Circus yarn together. I just want all of the Knit Circus yarn as itself, caked up. It's so beautiful. I want to look at it that way. That's just the way I decided to have it. And as a person who really struggles with, if I can't see it, it doesn't exist, I can't layer it too intensely. I have to be able to see every single skein. I also include all of my commercial yarn that I have that I'm keeping for projects for Quinn and Nora. And then I also have a few of the donut cakes for various projects because they just don't fit as nicely in cubbies along with skeins. And then just really any sort of like extraneous miscellaneous yarn. So I have 2 mini sets. One is a pink to coral fade, and one of them is sort of like a fall themed fade from Canon Hand Dyes. Both of them I want to keep together, and so not the pink with the fall, but just the sets of mini skeins. And then I also have a set that I bought from ZK in 2021 or 2020 from that there was a pattern from Lisa K. Ross and accompanying yarn. I want to say it was like ice cream shop, or it's like ice cream shop themed, something like that. A shawl that Lisa K. Ross Paper Daisy made, I believe. And then the yarn, I think, is maybe Emma's yarn or a mix of Emma's yarn and another yarn, but I'm keeping all of those together. It's a main skein and then a bunch of minis, and it looks so cute together, so I'm going to keep it together because I really do want to make a shawl with that. And then I also have one, I don't want to call it a fade, it's just like a coordinating set from Moonglow yarn of full-size fingering weight skeins, I think, probably for a shawl, and I want to keep those together as well. Then on top of my like three cubbies is all of my project bags. I was able to simplify my projects down, which really mostly meant taking out yarn for a project that I don't even remember what I was going to make. I probably have it somewhere in my library. I had needles in a bag and the yarn, but I don't remember what I was going to make, and it's a fingering weight donut cake, and I don't know. So I just took that out and I put it in my cubbies, and I'll figure that out later. Another thing that I did, which is sort of unrelated to the cubbies themselves, is I ordered new storage for my knitting needles. Right now, my knitting needles are, I was looking around to see if there was one. Oh, there is one nearby. So right now, my knitting needles are in various pencil pouches of this style. So some of them are clear. This was my favorite. I bought these from Target a couple of years ago. I haven't seen any recently, and I do have some that are in like colored ones where it's like colored here and then in the center it's clear. But I just ordered I hope they'll work. They're more of a fold over type, and I see a lot of people on Amazon that bought them use them for like scrapbooking crafts, but I want them to be uniform, right? They're just all over the place. I also, back when I way first started using circular needles more often, I actually bought these really cute stockinette stitch themed, they're like this big though, square ones with clear, and they were really expensive because they were on Etsy, and I want to say that, you know, to get 8 of them it was like $50, which was a lot at the time. It was maybe even less than 8, like 5 or something, and great because they're handmade, I get that, but the square, it's too small if you're gonna have more than one circular needle, especially of multiple lengths of cables. So I have some in those, some in the clear pouches, some in the colored pouches, and I just want them in a uniform, just clear pouches, and enough for all of them. So I bought 20, which is because they came in pack, or maybe I bought 10. Now I can't remember. But I wanted to make sure that I had enough for all of my different needle sizes. So I'm gonna get those tomorrow, and I'm gonna reorganize my needles. Steve is such a help with that. A lot of times I'll just like hand him a pile of needles and I'll be like, please, can you sort these? Like I hate doing it. I hate it. I hate menial tasks. I hate repetitive tasks. Knitting is different. Crocheting is different. I don't know how to explain it. It's different. Maybe it's because you're like literally producing something, but doing anything boring and repetitive, like sorting needles, doing spreadsheet stuff, data entry, anything, clicking and organize, no, hate, boring, can't do it. I can't. So I need his help with that. Another thing I did was I always have like a mess on the couch of various yarns from projects. Like my brain tells me that I have to leave all of the yarn out because I might need it again soon. And it's like, literally the storage for it is 30 feet away in a U shape into the cubby hole for, you know, making stuff for selling. Just, it's okay, just go put it back. It's okay, you can go just re-grab it if you need it. You do not need to keep 20 skeins just in case you might want to, you get in the mood to knit that project or crochet or knit that project. Come on, come on. I feel so good. I feel really happy about sticking within my parameters. I'm really hyped to get that yarn posted and hopefully off to good homes for people who want it. It will be a very steep discount. Keep an eye out for high quality yarn that I just need to move, that I've gotten so much joy out of over the last several years just looking at, but now it is time to move on. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on this journey, for watching me progress, for not judging me too hard on my overconsumption in the 2019, 2020, 2021 era. And I hope that you find something that you will want to add to your own collection and repurpose better than I could use. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.